Hi everyone, it is Latasha Martin, and if this is your first time being on one of my lives, I am the Chief Career Agent of VonsWise Solutions, where we help prepare job seekers and small business owners have impactful conversations about things that are relevant in the workplace. So I wanted to jump on this Friday afternoon to talk about something that actually had me quite perplexed. I was having a conversation with some people, and I know there's been a lot of focus and a lot of energy and a lot of time that people speak about millennials in the workplace. Like they call them out as if it's like a bad thing. And I do understand that by the year 2020, that millennials will actually have the greatest influence or biggest presence. Let's not say influence. Let's say the biggest numbers in the workplace. So by the year 2020, millennials will be the greatest, make up the biggest portion of the workforce. But this is what I want people to understand. Just because they may be the majority in numbers, there's still other people that have to coexist with millennials in the workplace. And there's some other things that I want to raise to your awareness. Just because there's these labels or these titles that are being thrown out there, what I don't want people doing is clumping them all in one category, like just putting everybody in a bucket, because that's not true. Like everybody's not going to show up in the workplace the same, even if they fall into the same generational band. Why? Because there's a band for that band. And at the end of the day, although people might fall into a certain generation in the types, we do know that people, what you experience is a bunch of perspectives and experiences that come together in the workplace. Now, why am I talking about this afternoon? Because I would love to offer up a challenge. I don't really care what group you self-identify with, but I would encourage you to do some homework this weekend before we come back to the workforce next week. And I'd love for you to do some homework on some things that you could learn from someone who falls into a different category than you fall into. Because what I'm learning is conflict is only when two people come together with different expectations and they have a different view on something and then they clash, and that's conflict. Now, I think conflict is good. Actually, I encourage it. I think that it's something that's healthy, because if everyone was the same, what kind of workplace would we be? But because this is the environment and the platform for career chats, I think it's a critical thing to understand. Now, if you're listening to me right now and you're saying, I don't even know what she means by generations that exist in the workplace, all I keep hearing is this title called millennials, then what I can do is I can put a helper link in the comments. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a link in the comments that just gives you some information about the general thoughts of the different generations that exist in the workplace. Now, there are so many different people who have different ranges and perspectives on this. I just want you to know that the point is not about being completely accurate and lasered in on, oh my gosh, Latasha said this year to this year was this particular group. And I saw another study that said this year to this year. The bigger point is that we're different. The different point is that there's some stereotypes that goes along with the different generations that are in the workplace. And what the challenge is that if you are a person that's being intentional about A, looking for a job, B, you're a small business owner and you're trying to hire someone to work for you, or 3, you're just frustrated because you just keep hearing these terms and you don't understand why do you even need to know it? Well, the reason why is because you are responsible for your career. At the end of the day, you can talk about your managers, you can talk about the economy, you can talk about the marketplace, but you're responsible for your career. And the more information that you have, the better off you are at navigating through your career. And one of the key pieces to understanding and helping you to gather this information is to understand people and what's happening and why are things happening. And knowing and understanding the different generations that exist inside the workplace is a huge point of conversation. And the more that you know about it, the more it will help you. So now after you've done your homework on these different generations, again, you can use the tool that I'll have posted in the comment, or you can go do your own research. You might be asking, well, okay, that's great. Now I've done my homework. Now what? Well, what I would love for you to do next is, once you have that information and you've done your homework, then when you get to work on Monday, look for someone that you believe falls into a different bucket than where you fall into for the generations, and based on the information that you've researched. And when you find that person that is falling in this other band, what I'd like for you to do is, before you engage and talk to them, I'd like you to do some observations. Because one of the things that I've learned is a lot of things that we assume about people may or may not be true. Most of the times they aren't true, because it's your interpretation of what you believe a certain behavior represents. And so as you do that observing and you say, okay, I see that this person is doing these things and my little cheat sheet said they should do that, then the next piece, after you've observed them for a while, is to engage in a conversation. And as you're talking to them, don't be awkward and weird and just start looking down the list and saying, do you do this? Do you do that? Just ask them some questions and try to have some conversations where you're seeking to understand, so that you can bridge and have a connection. One of the things I think is awesome is that, leaders are learners. And so you can learn from anyone, anywhere. I can learn from a little 2-year-old kid all the way up to a 70, 90, 100-year-old person. And if you open your perspective up to saying, I'm here to learn, you then can say, okay, well, maybe it's learning going both ways. And so maybe you understand the strategy that someone else uses an app for, or vice versa. But it's a great way to foster a conversation with someone who's not like you in a non-threatening way, that hopefully that person won't be offended by you doing this social experiment. So again, our topic for today is really understanding the different generations that exist in the workplace, and doing some homework on our own so that we can show up as an ideal person in the workplace. Or as you're looking for work, you can kind of be able to talk to the interviewer based on some things you've learned about generations, without making 100% assumptions about that, but at least you have a starting point. And then when everyone is complaining about these millennials, you can start being proactive and become an advocate or an ally and say, I know that you're talking about that, but you're really clumping everybody into a bucket. And before we go judging and assuming that all of this type is the same, we have to ask ourselves, would we want to be judged that way? Probably not. So it's encouraging for you to then be able to stand up and talk about some of the benefits of differences in the workplace and how it helps us all be a better people, a better organization, if we understand our differences and can become and learn to appreciate and learn from one another. So this is Latasha Martin. I am the Chief Career Agent at Bonswise Solutions, and I look forward to talking to you again next week. Have a great weekend, and I'll be posting that tool or that link down in the comments shortly for you to use as a research guide. Talk to you soon, and have a great day. Bye-bye.